Well, negotiations, right? Politics.
And we're out of time. So you.
Hey, y'all, Gravity, any day above ground, live it. I hope you're having a great start to your weekend, because it's the weekend. That means you get to relax or make more money. Go out and barbecue if you're in a warm climate or a cold climate. You could do all that. I'm going to say something before we start this commentary that I know some people ain't going to like, but I hope the power goes off in Landover, Maryland today, and they don't play that Army-Navy game. Like, real talk. I also hope there's a mega blizzard that shows up in Landover, Maryland. I hope so. You know, one of them freak blizzards, since they want to talk about climate change and all that. I kind of want that to happen. Fine, screw it. I hope Daniel Penny's SUV that's going to be taking him to this game, I hope it flips over. I don't care. Because it's quite funny how folk like to tell us who ain't on this side. They like to tell us we glorify killers. That's all our music is about, glorifying killers. We identify with the criminal element. Yet you got your president-elect and your VP-elect glorifying killers. And I don't care how that sounds. You're bringing a killer to a game that is supposed to highlight the military. That's interesting. Great. I'm glad now y'all are setting the standards once again. So from this day forward, we should never hear y'all talk about how other groups highlight their killers. Should never happen, right? Because we know they're full of good faith. Fuck all three of them. And I mean that. Fuck all three of them. I was going to say other things, but I'm going to be quiet because we know you say certain things on here, FBI, Secret Service come see you. So I'm going to shut up after that. All right, we got that out. Now, we're going to get to the fun and the big fun. Piers Morgan, we already know who Piers Morgan is. He's had many people on there to yell at people, yell at each other, talk about the issues. Okay, great. He said, this one should be good. I'm going to talk about Luigi Maggioni and Daniel Penny. I'm going to bring on 4 folk. Family, when you see who's on this panel, Lord have mercy. We're going to have fun this morning. But before we do that, let's see who's in the building. Wild J, hello. Jerry Bedford, hello. Levin Lucas, hello. Miss Nisi, hello. Eddie Foster, hello. Brother Torian Rain, hello. D Money, hello. DSA1, hello. Cosmo Fury, hello. Anthony Ruger Phillips, hello. For those who haven't said anything in live chat or the comments, hello and good morning. Or good afternoon, good evening, depending on what it is. But before we do that, we have to do the customary house cleaning. So let's get that out the way.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purpose, such as criticism, commenting, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, education, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
This is way over the edge. Like we it's not even over the edge. We died already.
This is beyond the event horizon. Like we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah, we about to hit the vortex.
Yeah.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in.
By the way, I hope that boy gets booed straight out the building. Let him cheer for Trump and Vance. That's cool. As soon as they say Daniel Penny here, or they show him on the screen, he got to get booed. Show me something. But they ain't going to show it because it's military. They ain't going to show me nothing. But let's get into this. This is going to be fun.
Get to work!
Murdering a businessman because you don't like his business is bad. End. Well, to debate this, I'm joined by Natalie Winters, co-host of Steve Bannon's War Room. Clay Travis, found
Natalie Winters from Steve Bannon's War Room. Okay. Look, it's our favorite racist. Clay Travis from Outkick. He couldn't even find an office to do this. He has somebody in the background. But all right.
founder of Outkick. Briahna Joy Gray, the host of the Bad Faith podcast.
This is going to be fun.
And Mujahid Ali, the host of Democracy-ish. So Mujahid, let me start with you. I found Taylor Lorenz's performance on Monday night on the show utterly staggering. She was already in hot water for celebrating the death of this executive. To then say that her honest, genuine response to what happened was one of joy. And it was unambiguous. She may have recanted it when she realized what she'd said, but she said it in the moment. She meant it. She felt joyful that an executive, a husband, a father of two children, had been executed in the streets of Manhattan. What would you say about that?
I would say that is on brand for your type of folk. Y'all glorify killers. Let's just call it what it is. Family, did we not see when they arrested this man how people were saying, oh, damn, he's cute? I understand. Then it comes out allegedly that he's LGBTQ and he liked black men. Then all of a sudden that went away real quick. They couldn't even start the grift. Woo! This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, so three things. Number one, I can only speak for myself. For one, I can't speak for the panel or anyone else. I'm against vigilante violence. I think it's bad for a democratic society when people, especially in a country that has more guns than individuals, take matters in their own hand and kill unarmed individuals. I think personally that's wrong. Secondly, it's not just a left thing because Taylor does not represent the left as one person. I'm against the murder.
Vigilante justice doesn't only mean guns, but yeah. Doesn't matter. Continue.
Brian Thompson, I thought it was a brutal targeted murder. And I, for one, did not celebrate the murder, just like I did not celebrate a violent insurrection against our free and fair elections where people, some with weapons, attacked the Capitol Police. And then that Capitol Police that was defending the U.S. Capitol and senators was mocked and ridiculed by people on the right. And then finally, I'm really curious, Piers, and I'm sure you are as well. We have some gray hairs. I have never seen this type of response. The fact that this is the one thing that has united so many Americans. When I'm talking about the response to Brian Thompson's murder, you've seen people from the left, from the right, every ethnicity, every gender, people sitting there. And instead of having empathy, you see outrage. Sometimes you see celebration. You see people on social media, on TikTok, on Twitch, on Facebook, using their own, face saying, this is what's happening. And this is where I think we should really reflect upon why are so many Americans, so many otherwise decent people, not necessarily feeling empathy, also sometimes being celebratory over the murder of a United Healthcare CEO. And I think you talked about it, touched upon it. It's because in this country, so many Americans, because we have such a broken system where we pay so much money, don't have access to healthcare, are denied health insurance, right? They're denied medical treatment. They're denied life-saving medications. United Healthcare has denied 32%, more so than any other company, and they based it on an algorithm. There is a festering resentment and anger and rage that I think has to be confronted. And if you are a CEO or a 1%, You don't have to justify any of this, but you have to look at the reaction, Piers, and say, this is what's happening in America. Why are so many people united? I mean, there was literally on Twitter yesterday when they arrested Luigi, right? There was hashtag free him and pardon. That is something that has to be confronted, and why you see a simmering rage against the 1%, the elitists, and the billionaires.
Okay, Clay Travis, I mean, let me confront that first off, which is
he's shocked that he sees people saying free that man. Even when they claim that they talk for the streets and they talk for the regular working class individual, they still are out of touch. But all right, that's fine. He said his piece. Let's hear the racists. Come on, racists. We know you're going to tell us something insightful.
Get to work!
is it shouldn't need to be confronted. It's disgusting. If you celebrate the death of an executive from a company whose policies you don't agree with, you're disgusting. You're inhumane. If you lack any empathy and are proud of that, or you feel joyful, you are inhumane. It is wrong. I don't care who it is, what political divide they come from, what the policies are. You don't execute people in the street, and you don't get celebrated when you do that.
I agree.
But secondly, Clay, I would say this: this extraordinary phenomenon of so many liberal women brazenly talking about the hot assassin, as if somehow the fact that he was good looking in some way
look,
is the most important
idea
aspect
that he's
of
a
this.
hot assassin is bonkers to me, Piers, that this would take.
Where do you think they got the hot assassin from? I mean, Hollywood's been peddling that for years. The hot assassin. But okay. Sure.
Take off as it has is utterly ridiculous. But look, I mean, this was a cold-blooded murder that we were all able to watch take place on the video monitors in Midtown Manhattan. And the thing I would point out is two things that usually happen. One, I do think there's a deeper story here. This is a incredibly privileged, it appears to be alleged, but seems like he is the killer based on all the evidence. He went to a $40,000 a year high school. He has double degrees from an Ivy League institution. He has all the advantages and privileges that a rich kid in America would have. And
privilege. Okay. Privilege. Because y'all have never let off rich killers before. Okay.
And he killed an executive who was the son of lower middle class, it appears, parents who worked his way up based on his own individual merit and accolades. And so you have this incredible, if you want to talk about white privilege, this assassin is maybe the definition of white privilege. And he also used a gun. And usually anytime we have a shooting like this, almost immediately we hear that we need to have gun control. It appears this may have been a gun that he created using some sort of 3D creation, that is some sort of advanced technology. And we don't hear anything about gun control, and we don't hear anything about white privilege. And so in addition to the fact that a lot of crazy, broken-brained left-wing women like Taylor Lorenz can't find any man, so they decide to get all turned on by assassins, it's I think, evidence of how the left wing's brain is broken, and they will use.
Really, Travis? Really? Yeah, I'm calling you by your last name, sir. Family, you know where I'm about to go with this. Travis, how do you acknowledge this white privilege and then we catch you? 4K, 60 FHD. How did we catch you? Y'all don't understand what I'm talking about, do you? Okay, I'm finna help you.
You know, let me go here. There's a growing concern in
Clayface. Come here, Clayface. Let me holler at you. You wrote this yesterday. Now, granted, that interview with Piers Morgan was on, I believe. Let me see. Let me just check real quick. That was on December 11th. So they probably did it maybe Tuesday after the verdict. But yeah. You want to explain this tweet? about Caitlin Clark. Whoever is advising her on this is running the 2018 woke white privilege playbook. That sports era is dead, especially for her fans and the new fans she brought to the WNBA. Just truly awful advice. Her race has nothing to do with her talent. Sports is the ultimate meritocracy. So you're pissed off that a white basketball player acknowledges her white privilege, but you can't understand why there's not more noise about this alleged quote unquote hot assassin and white privilege. That's interesting. Just thought I'd drop that in your laps, get y'all to think a little bit. We're going to let the racists finish.
Get to work!
Use any situation to try to justify that which is unjustifiable.
Yeah, Briahna, let me bring you in. Welcome to Uncensored. I believe it's your debut, so great to have you. Just on the before we get to the shooting and the way it's been celebrated and so on, this whole issue of the hot assassin. I made the point on X earlier. Had this shooter executed a female CEO of a company, of a healthcare company, I don't think any women on the left would have gone public and talked about what a hot assassin he was. Do you?
I frankly don't know that that's true. And I also think we can't erase how many men are also thirsting, frankly, after the claims adjuster, or as you have been describing him, the hot assassin, Luigi Mangione. But I think the real point is that both sides of the establishment political aisle are desperate to make this a conversation about something other than the fact that we have perhaps the most perverse healthcare system, or insurance system is a more accurate way to put it, compared to every other similarly wealthy country in the world. The reason you're seeing this outrage and sometimes kind of performative thirsting for the shooter is exactly because 68,000 people every year in the United States of America die because people like Brian Thompson, who run companies like United Healthcare, deny insurance claims that could have saved the lives of their loved ones. And while there were a lot of words spent talking about the fear, the real fear of the people on the subway who had encountered Jordan Neely, it's important to note that Jordan Neely hadn't physically engaged with anybody on the subway.
Well, I'm going to come to Jordan, just to be clear. I'm going to come to... Let's separate the two stories, though.
That was just an aside. So much words, passion, empathy was directed in that direction. But Brian Thompson's actual crimes of having a direct connection to mass death and suffering for tens of thousands of Americans on a yearly basis.
See, Briahna, you had him and then you went there. He didn't actually commit a crime. Now, if you want to say morally that was wrong, cool. But when you start talking about crime, you're getting in a gray area where you're going to have to now sit up there and play gymnastics to try to explain that. We got to be careful. We want to hold people accountable, but we can't always throw that 5-letter word around. Just a little friendly advice, but go ahead.
You said
I think
crimes.
it's going under examine.
Okay, you said crimes. What was the crime?
Unfortunately, the United States, our legal system is designed by people in power who enrich themselves, who don't make denying people's health care that results in mass death.
Yeah, but you called it a crime, though. You called it a crime, but it wasn't a crime. He wasn't a convicted criminal.
I would define it colloquially as a crime. And the fact that Luigi allegedly took matters into his own hands is because no political system or legal system in the United States of America has been willing to step up.
Actually, we don't even know that, do we?
The mass murder that's been executed on the part of the American healthcare system.
I would say, look, we don't know really enough about this guy yet. It looks to me like he's a bit of a narcissist.
What do you mean?
I think he was a narcissist. I think that he was clearly unhinged. I'm not sure that he's the great Robin Hood. Hang on.
Which guy?
Now we're assuming on this guy. You gotta love the news, right? Gotta love them. People from that establishment news sector. You're assuming now that he's a narcissist. Y'all got a manifesto on you. Just assume that's who he is. But it's okay. I know one of them networks right now reaching out to the jail so they could get the exclusive, so he could talk and ask him why he did it. And he finna go in there and tell you what you want to hear, and you're gonna love him. And then when he goes in front for his arraignment, everybody gonna be outside talking about free that man. And I love you, Luigi. I get it. He about to become a meme, and this is what y'all want because there's more to talk about. I understand. So she can't call stuff a crime, even though I said that was wrong, but you get to call this man a narcissist. And people have to accept that. Okay. I think you're a terrible journalist. Now, how many people in my chat and those who will see this will accept that?
Sorry.
Hang on.
You're talking about
Luigi, the shooter,
or,
right?
Brian Thompson.
The one who shot Brian Thompson, Luigi, right? I'm just not sure that he's this great, heroic guy standing up against the healthcare system. I suspect
I'm not talking about that. This isn't about Luigi, who may or may not, he's been arrested, he's been charged. We may or may not know that he's the actual shooter. I'm talking about the public reaction to Brian Thompson's death.
No, I understand that.
We do know about Brian Thompson.
I understand that.
We know about United Healthcare, and that's the root of the discontent. That's the root of the public outcry. Luigi is just a vessel through which people are expressing their deep frustrations with the American healthcare system. So the question is, if you don't want murders like this to be happening, assassinations to be happening like this in the street, I'm someone who does not believe in the death penalty and don't condone these kinds of vigilante instances of violence in either case. But if you want to get to the root of why people are so deeply unhappy, you have to, it resonates so deeply with people that this has happened, you have to get to the root of why there's this deep well of tragedy, despair, and outrage in the United States of America. And that has to do with what Brian Thompson has chosen to do with what companies like United Healthcare
but just to be
to
clear,
the American people.
But just to be clear, before I go to Natalie to respond to that, do you feel any empathy for Brian Thompson and his family?
I have infinite empathy for any individual as a person in their personal capacity. As his role as a CEO of United Healthcare, I'm afraid I'm with the overwhelming majority, bipartisan majority of the American people who say, I'm saving my empathy for people who are much more vulnerable, and have caused a lot.
Right, so to be clear, you don't have any empathy for him after he was executed.
I personally don't.
Right. Okay. Well, at least
get some. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Look at Clay Travers was so pissed. Look, he's like, look, another black person that doesn't have empathy for a white death. Look at him. Oh, by the way, that Wahaji, I'm sorry, I don't know what the fuck his name is. Mr. Ali. That's what we'll just call him because I ain't fucking up his first name. Look at his face. He screenshot. Boy, look at him. Look, he looked fucked up. Piers looked like he fixing to go on the toilet. Clay Travers, he looked like he just about to have a white supremacist meltdown. Why is it the two females out here that look the most serious? I don't understand what's going on, but this gonna be fun.
Get to work!
if you're honest, let me go to Natalie Winters. I mean, I find this staggering. You've got to remember, the left is supposed to be the party that cares so much. All of them have their Be Kind hashtags. They're the caring ones, the kind ones, and they can't even bring it in their heart.
Lie.
To say they find a shred of empathy for a man who's just been executed, who's the father of children, the husband of a loving wife, and so on. I find that just staggering, that you can't, on a human level, have empathy for the murder of someone, but also make your point about...
Now, Piers, see how he lies? Because your buddies on the right don't have no empathy when they delete people that have families. Y'all had no empathy. I'm going to help you. Now watch this. Watch this. Where was y'all's empathy for Daniel Shaver? Oops. That's the sign of the hypocrisy when blowing past you. Where was your empathy there? Y'all should have helped him, right? Tony Temple, y'all should have helped him, right? Where was the empathy? Y'all didn't even talk about that story. It was local news and the Black Grassroots that said something. Oops. Y'all prove it to everybody that you have no empathy for somebody that has a family. None. Every time somebody get deleted, what's the first thing y'all do? Y'all don't send out no condolences to their family. First thing you do is try to find out how many priors they got, so you can gauge your outrage level and your empathy levels. So you can't be wrong and you can't look heartless. When it's one of y'all's, hey, we need the full story. Let's not jump to conclusions. When it's somebody else, hey, that motherfucker got arrested in 1986. He a criminal. The fuck? He deserved it. He ain't commit no crime that day, but he got 42 priors beforehand. Yeah, he deserved it. Okay. I'm glad y'all just set the moral standards in this country. I'm glad. Continue.
About the system in which he was an executive. What's your response?
I mean, it's absolutely shocking. And look, what it gets to the core of is the continued dehumanization of people, because in the sort of culturally Marxist paradigm of oppressor versus oppressed, you're allowed to do whatever you want to someone who has allegedly, or in this case, I'm not a supporter of the United States healthcare system or apparatus. Believe me, there's so many problems that need to be fixed and adjusted there. But condoning, which is in effect what these two panelists are doing, the assassination of him by a roundabout way by saying, well, the healthcare system, you just told me that you had absolutely no empathy and that you think what people are doing by gunning down healthcare executives because of bad decisions. And by the way,
I do not condone vigilante.
Who's having fun already? Now you got the women going at each other. Let's get it. Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, Black Free Thinker, I know how to trigger these assholes. Where was the bruh? Where was the empathy for that white 12-year-old in Philly, right? Where he got hit by that cop. Where was the empathy there? What was the first thought y'all did? Y'all had to find out who the cop was. And when y'all found out it wasn't no white cop that did that, all the fury went over there. All your energy went over there. Y'all can't even tell me the name of that kid. This nondescript white bread is Natalie Winters. She works with Steve Bannon. Oh, y'all can't play with me. So let's go.
To violence in either instance. So don't misrepresent my view. If you can make your case without telling a lie, miss, then you should do it. I have empathy for the 68 million Americans and their families who are killed every single year by the United healthcare system.
Don't talk over each other. We can't hear you. Okay, look, listen, Briahna, I'll let you speak, Briahna. Let Natalie have her say.
I heard everything.
By the way, if you think Luigi Mangione is someone who you maybe have empathy or sympathy for, this is someone who had a very privileged upbringing, background, very wealthy family. The CEO of United Healthcare is someone who came from a working class family, went to state schools, didn't go to the University of Pennsylvania. Like I said, I'm not defending the healthcare system writ large, but to say that you don't have empathy because you view him as an oppressor of the American people is a perversion, not just of the system of law and justice in this country, but that's extreme. You just said you don't have empathy for a man who was murdered in cold blood on the streets of New York. So what do you have for him? Sympathy?
With oppressed language. It seems to be a bit of a kink.
You are so much so that you just said you don't have empathy for a murder victim.
I said.
Make sure you hit the like. Did you not try to do this? You don't get this type of content. Y'all wouldn't look at this content anywhere else. Y'all wouldn't go out your way to go listen to Piers Morgan. Bruh, this is beautiful. Wait a minute. Miss Winters, y'all have no empathy for any other group. Cut it out. We're not going to start sitting up here lying because you finally got a platform outside of Steve Bannon's war room. You not finna do that. Y'all ain't got no empathy. It's not built in your DNA or your consciousness. So please, spare me. Natalie, I'm sure when George Floyd happened, you was real quiet. You didn't say, let's have empathy for that man. Let's have empathy for his family, those involved. No. And yeah, I want to start talking about privilege. Again, 3 things happened this week with people with their privilege. And not now one of y'all came outside and was like, listen, we have to acknowledge this. You got 3 examples in your face. 3. But you skirt past it because that's a hard conversation. Because again, like I said the other day, you guys want to control the racial conversations. You don't want any other group to have those racial conversations. Because you haven't figured out the move, how to make it that you're the victim. But we're going to let her continue because I like to see women yell at each other and make points. And then you see these men acting like betas, trying like, stop. We were a proper country one time. We just let females work out their problems.
Get to work!
Let me be clear. I said as a person, interpersonally, of course, he has a family, and those people are feeling grief. And those people, as far as I know, are innocent in all of this. But the question is, here's the real question. Why are we asking random pundits, who might personally have been victimized, by the way, by someone like Brian Thompson, why they would have empathy for him and their family, while there's no question being asked about who has empathy for the tens of thousands of Americans who are killed every year by the policies that Brian Thompson has made millions and millions,
Clay,
tens of millions of dollars off of. Why are we talking about the fact that this 25-year-old, 26-year-old perpetrator, alleged perpetrator, went to an Ivy League school when obviously he was so still financially precarious, or obviously we don't know, the facts will come out. But the fact that someone who is relatively privileged in the United States of America can still feel so overwhelmed by our healthcare system that they would go to these lengths, that people who are relatively affluent still find themselves in medical bankruptcy, as you so rightly pointed out earlier, Piers Morgan, that 50% of families that have a cancer diagnosis in their family in the United States of America go bankrupt. That is where the moral outrage should lie. But
listen, don't get me wrong. Listen, I think
who have wealthy, affluent house, the focus seems to be on the family of a millionaire and not on the families of the people who have been terrorized by the healthcare system.
You made your point. Listen, I'm in London at the moment. In the UK, we have the National Health Service. It's free healthcare for all. So I find the whole system in America completely baffling. The country of your...
And again, Piers, I love how you British people love to tell that lie. Yes, it's free healthcare, but what is the underlying things underneath it that you're not telling people? That the system is not as great as it should be. That your clinics are not that well. Y'all act like the British people are like living to like 96 years old on average. Why don't you tell them how many people have private insurance in the UK? Because they don't want to deal with the NHS. Or if you have private insurance over there and you present it, you get bumped to the front of the line. Oh, but he don't want to tell that part because he know them four ain't gonna research that. But okay, continue. I want to hear what the racist is gonna say.
Size and power and economic muscle can't have a better system where people don't fall through the cracks in such large numbers. I completely agree. But that is a separate issue to the execution of someone in the street. Clay, I can see you were rolling your eyes
there. It's not a separate issue.
Well, let me bring Clay in.
Talk your shit.
It is a separate. Piers, I'm in Israel right now. I just been touring a lot of the kibbutzes where there were people who were murdered because they were Jewish.
And he got turned.
I can't help but see the analogy here. You can be upset with a larger societal issue. It does not justify murdering people because of it. And if you are making that argument, and Briahna is making that argument, I'm sorry, her brain is broken, because what she is saying is, I'm so upset about the healthcare system that I believe that assassinating an innocent person who has never been convicted of any...
Her brain is broken. And you see how Piers' team labeled it, right? Her brain is broken. Okay.
Crime in cold blood on the streets of Manhattan is okay, then your brain is broken. If you don't have empathy,
that's not what I'm saying, and the audience is intelligent enough to have heard what I've actually said.
You said you didn't have empathy for the killing of a man because you were upset about the larger societal issue of healthcare. That is not any different than you saying when you are seeing what happens when someone is killed because they're Jewish, that you're not happy about the situation here.
Neither does do millions of Americans who've been victimized by Brian themselves.
A larger societal issue.
Caught him. Briahna, okay. I like what Briahna did. I know most of y'all didn't pick up on it. She literally just exposed him as a racist. I know it didn't seem like it. It's funny that he got upset that she said, I don't have empathy for that man. Based on his actions as a person, right? She literally just exposed people like him who sit there and laud that somebody took somebody out that's quote unquote black based on shit they already did. Now, I don't think she realized that she did it. But when I saw this the first time, I picked up on it. I was like, that's some crafty shit. I'm finna steal that. I'm gonna give her credit. I'm finna steal that though. So to summarize, she just exposed every white supremacist that loves to run around and say, oh, that person deserves to get deleted because I found their rap sheet and they have all these priors. Now, as Piers and I astutely pointed out, he didn't commit no crime, but morally, you could say he committed a crime. Now, where's the line? White America, I'm going to need y'all to start realizing that y'all keep talking and acting like this, you're going to screw around and get to a point where it's going to be the Minority Report, and you're not going to like it. Because remember, in that movie, they used AI and technology to stop you from making some of the worst mistakes of your life before you did it. You don't want to go there. But, you know, we're going to let it continue because he's going to be more racist.
That you don't like. And by the way, this is not a healthcare debate.
Yeah, I want to play two.
It is a healthcare debate.
Hang on. I want to play. Hang on, Briahna.
It's a murder debate.
Yeah, it's a
murder debate, not a healthcare debate.
People are not excited about. Wait a minute. People are not excited about murder. There are thousands of murders that happen. Well, maybe not thousands, but hundreds, whatever, dozens of murders that happen every day in the United States of America. So, and those perpetrators are not being celebrated by the public. The public right now is feeling empathy for Luigi. They are feeling some kind of catharsis, schadenfreude, whatever you want to call it.
So you're feeling empathy for an executioner, but not the person he executed.
He's a cold-blooded assassin. No one should be feeling empathy for him. He's a
cold-blooded assassin. But Clay Travis, you were celebrating Ahmaud Arbery's death. Were those three assholes not considered assassins, vigilantes? Was you could consider Derek Chauvin an assassin? We can go there. The reason I said that is because you guys changed your definitions based on the situation. This is why I said a double standard is not a standard. You can't keep changing the definition to fit yourself. It doesn't work. You guys created this system. You created the bylines and the bylaws. Now you don't like it that everybody else is using that same system now. Now it's wrong. So you knew when you created it, it was wrong. But you thought everybody was too stupid to realize what you were doing and to use it back on you. Now you're complaining. Well, guess what? This is the system you created. You told people it's okay to delete somebody. You just have to make sure the reason is really, really valid. So in this situation, yes, he took out a CEO. He was Robin Hood. People resonate with Robin Hood. And now you're shocked that people are saying, okay, it is what it is.
Rich kid with a broken brain,
totally agree.
Probably like you.
Okay, I want to play two clips now. I want to play, first of all, a mashup of the reaction to our Taylor Lorenz Joy clip, which has gone very big in America. Watch this.
That is this ideology. She has joy for a guy getting murdered in the streets of New York.
I just feel like saying that you feel joy over someone getting assassinated. Like, even if you do feel that way, I just don't think it's helpful to say that.
She in her mind is like, a man that worked for a company at the highest levels died, so she feels joy. Okay.
And now this woman is all over online on her Substack and elsewhere trying to justify this man's murder, and goes on with Piers Morgan on his YouTube show last night.
Wow, we have a real problem in this country. The left has a real problem.
But there is
the left. It's always the left. So nobody on the right did that. Nobody on the right ever did that. Y'all never said, you know what? The killing of person X was wrong. Never done that, right? Y'all do that all the time. Y'all justify unarmed people getting deleted. But y'all can't justify this one. Lord. Tori ain't gonna get mad at me for saying this, but I don't care. There is one event that Simone Biles will never win a gold medal in. Mental gymnastics. That white folk got the forever gold medal. Now, I apologize in advance. I have this on 1.3, and Ben Shapiro, we already know, talks on 1.3, so it's going to sound like 1.6. So I apologize in advance. You may not understand what the hell he just said.
Last night.
Wow, we have a real problem in this country. The left has a real problem.
But there is something deeper, a sickness that is going on in our political class, best exemplified by the absolute nut job Taylor Lorenz, who used to work for the Washington Post. She appeared on...
I think Piers T has slowed down Ben.
Piers Morgan yesterday, and she said that she felt actual joy when the United Healthcare CEO was murdered on the street.
Now, Briahna, before I come to you, I want to play Joe Rogan, who interestingly had this take.
I don't think this guy was a professional. I think this guy, if I had to guess, some guy got fucked over. Apparently that company is really bad on denying claims.
34% denial rate.
Something
Normal
like 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those guys.
I don't think anybody's going to like be crying too hard over that guy.
Yeah, maybe his family, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's a dirty, dirty business. The business of insurance is fucking gross.
No, Joe, I mean, it's interesting there. Joe Rogan, he didn't come out and say he felt joyful, but certainly no great tears being shared, no great expression of sympathy. As Briahna, I mean, I wouldn't have.
And he's on the right.
Did, and I think to admit you have no empathy for someone to be murdered is very bizarre.
Joe Rogan and I had the same take.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm about to make the
Joe
point.
Rogan and I had the exact same
Allow me
take.
to conduct my own interviews, Briahna, if you don't mind. Which I mean, there's not a massive amount of difference in response there. So is there a point here that the issue of healthcare in America is angering so many Americans because of these denial rates and so on, that this was almost an inevitable conclusion to this, that somebody at some stage was going to turn violent?
Yeah, let me respond to Clay, your question, and also the clips. First and foremost, I for one have said that I'm against vigilante violence. I have the capacity to feel empathy for unarmed individuals who get killed. What I find fascinating about the framing is, where is the pearl clutching? Where is the outrage? It seems very selective, right? So if you're in Israel, Clay, I'm glad you're there. Talk to everyone. Go visit the West Bank and talk to Palestinians if you truly want to have empathy. When we talk about framing, right, I think...
Woo! This is about to be fun. Now, come on. Now, Mr. Ali, you know damn well he ain't going to the West Bank. He ain't going to Gaza. You know this. He going to stay nicely in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv. The hummus is great there. What? Him go to the West Bank? This motherfucker don't even want to walk around New York City by himself. But he gonna go to West Bank. By the way, family, one more again. Screenshot.
Clay said, just because you're angry about a system doesn't give you the right to commit vigilante violence. I agree. Just because you're angry and you think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election that he lost, it does not give you the right to be part of an incited violent insurrection where you hurt and harm Capitol Police, take a shit in the U.S. Capitol. Some people come armed to assassinate people. By the way, just over the weekend, Donald Trump said he would pardon those people, traitors, violent insurrectionists whom he called hostages. I see no condemnation. I see celebration from the right. Another story about murder, how common it is. Another Daniel Perry, a white man, a veteran. He was convicted, Piers, just a couple of months ago. He was convicted by jury of our peers for killing an unarmed white man who was attending a BLM rally with his black girlfriend. Governor Abbott of Texas. Do you know what happened? The story no one talks about. Governor Abbott of Texas pardoned this man who was convicted by a jury for killing an unarmed white man. MAGA celebrates it. So when do we celebrate and when do we not? And right now, to go to your question, this comment that Joe said, Abbott of Texas pardoned this man who was convicted by a jury for killing an unarmed white man. MAGA celebrates it. So when do we celebrate and when do we not? And right now, to go to your question, this comment that Joe said and what Briahna said and what I said is the reaction to the murder of Brian Thompson is what I'm fascinated about. It is inevitable, I believe, to answer your question directly, in a country, the most powerful, wealthy country on earth, right? That where we pay more money than any other country for healthcare, where so many people, so many adults, their number one debt, Piers, is medical debt. I had a daughter who is a stage 4 cancer survivor. She's 5 years on, she's cancer-free, full liver transplant, she's a little diva. A person like myself, Piers, the only reason I had insurance is through my wife, who's a doctor. We're pretty privileged compared to most people. If I wasn't able to get help from my family and friends, I would be in debt. I would be $200,000 in debt. Piers, I had to do a GoFundMe, and that's me, a person with relative privilege. So look at the reaction right now. And I keep telling people, for CEOs, I mean this sincerely, if you are in healthcare, if you're a billionaire, if you are a CEO, if you're a 1%, look at the bipartisan rage from Briahna to Joe Rogan about the healthcare system, where, millions of Americans, Piers, I don't think they're evil. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything like this in my life. I know deeply empathetic people who looked at this murder and said, I feel bad for Brian, but you know what? United Healthcare screwed over a lot of people.
Okay.
I have a story.
Okay.
And the system has to change.
Well, listen, I think the system has got to change. I totally agree with that. Let me bring Natalie in. I want to pivot to Daniel Penny now, because it really has been a tale of two vigilante stories, very different stories in my estimation. You know, I'm very pleased that Daniel Penny was acquitted of committing it.
No sugar honey iced tea.
Penny was committed of any crime, because I believe he was a hero. I believe that he was a Marine veteran on the subway who recognized a dangerous situation. He knew nothing about Jordan Neely's background at all. He didn't know that he was a homeless man or he had mental health issues. He didn't know that he had a criminal record as long as his arm, 40 plus.
Did this motherfucker just say he didn't know he had mental problems? Because normal people with all their faculties just starts throwing their coats on the floor, yelling they gonna kill folk. So he didn't know. So Piers, I wonder if you're going to mention how Jordan Neely done passed this man and then he put him in and rear naked. He ain't even square up on the critter. But he a hero. I thought heroes confront the enemy. Huh. Okay.
Offenses, including several involving violence, including against old people. He didn't know anything. All he knew was this guy was ranting and raving, talking about killing people, prepared to die, prepared to go to prison for the rest of his life. And in that moment, the military instinct kicked in. It seems to me, I've got a lot of military in my family. It kicked in instinctively. He knew how to restrain him, and he did restrain him. And tragically, Jordan Neely ends up dying. He was high on drugs at the time, but he ends up dying. And I can absolutely have empathy for the death of Jordan Neely. It shouldn't have happened. It was a tragedy, but it was an accident. And Daniel Penny did not want to kill him, obviously. He wanted to stop.
If he didn't want to kill him, he should have left him alone. If he didn't want to kill him, when people told him to ease up, he should have let go. You had 3 people on him. 3. He going on TV talking about if I'd have let him go, he'd have been on top of me. Ain't you a Marine? Huh? Got it.
Stop him, potentially killing the passengers, women and children. I was struck by the fact that of the 11 eyewitnesses who gave evidence, 9 of them said it was the most terrifying experience they'd ever had on the subway.
And ladies and gentlemen, them 9 folk just told you they ain't from New York. We see that every day. Sometimes multiple times a day. What? If it ain't somebody like Jordan Neely, it's a subway performer. If it ain't that, it's them goddamn Jehovah's Witnesses. What? If you that scared of what you saw, then you need to start taking Ubers everywhere. GDS, we already did that the other night. There's a live on there about Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. We talked about that. That's what he said, because he had him in the rear naked and his back was to the floor. So he said, if I'd have let go, even though there were 2 dudes holding his arms, he said he would have been on top of me. But y'all were scared on the train. The shit you've seen in videos and real life in New York City, that was the most terrifying. Motherfucker. I tell you that, man. Woo! They be talking some bullshit.
Not what Daniel Penny did, what Jordan Neely was doing before Daniel Penny apprehended him and and got him under control. So I don't understand how anyone who looks at this with a logical, common sense brain could possibly construct any argument that says this is the new George Floyd, this was a white supremacist, as they called him, a racist who only picked on George.
You mean the white supremacist who told you after he did what he did, said, hey, I was planning on going to Africa? Like, why would you proffer that to the world? What are you talking about? Sir, you the one that him said it. Him said it. Y'all keep calling this man a hero. I love how y'all leave out the other witnesses that say, you know what, he was ranting and raving, he was doing all that, but he ain't touched nobody. So where was the crime that allowed? Never mind. Never mind. Because 10 minutes ago, I told you what the problem was. They want to change what the criteria is so they can't be wrong. But that's okay, because I know what's going to happen. Just like with Zimmerman, somehow, some way, he going to fuck up in the next year or two, and people are going to be like, damn, you know what? He probably should have gotten convicted.
Jordan Neely because of his skin color. And by the way, the system betrayed Jordan Neely and all these things. Really? I just see a deranged, violent guy with a long criminal record threatening to kill people, and somebody, thank God, stepped in to stop him from potentially carrying out his.
I know I've said in the past, how can you tell the American racist? They'll say something within 10 seconds on themselves. I guess we're going to have to extend it across the pond to the goddamn Brits. You just said you had empathy for that man dying. Now you saying essentially he deserved to die based on what he did in the past. Say less.
His friend.
You also don't see that systemic violence. Oh, sorry.
Hang on, Joy. This is
no, I'm sorry.
I will come to all of you. Don't worry. I will come to all of you.
No, it's the same old tired playbook that they've always been using. I mean, it's just race baiting. In this case, they're effectively, I think, trying to start a race war. If you look at the way from NAACP to BLM to left-wing outlets have framed this, they always portray the man who died as some Michael Jackson street performer and Daniel Penny as, you know, a former Marine, right? You can see it in the analytical way that they're approaching this. But I think it even is something that's much worse than this. And what I mean is that you have progressive elites who have pushed soft on crime. That's an understatement. Policies, proposals that lead to the continual release and bailing out of people who've been arrested on 42 separate crimes, including attempted abductions of 7-year-olds and beating up and trying to harass elderly women and men on public transportation. And as a result of those horrible policies, average working class Americans, the same people that I think these two co-panelists would probably say that they have a lot of empathy for, are forced to suffer the brunt and the negative ramifications of policies that lead to criminals who need to be in jail or insane asylums, plaguing public.
Okay, Natalie, and whose fault was that? Who in the chat wants to take a stab at whose fault why we have all this homelessness and mental health on the street? Who wants to take a shot? Whose fault is it? He didn't commit a crime. Come on. You run with Steve Bannon. That should be easy. Whose fault is it? I know y'all don't want to have that conversation with me because you're punks. Yes, it was the government, but I'm talking about a specific entity. Whose fault was this? Natalie. Y'all need to read more. No, not the wealthy. Well, technically, but not really. Nope, not Mayor Adams. Nope, has nothing to do with him. This is way before his time. Hey, conservatives, this is your fault. Oh, I know y'all didn't expect me to say that. Yeah, conservatives, this is your fault. You and your avatar, Ronald Reagan. Yeah, that's your fault. You fake ass Christians. Ronald Reagan was the one that closed all those facilities. He got the ball rolling. Yeah. Bit of history for y'all. Ronald Reagan set up the legislation to start closing all those mental health institutions. Yeah. So conservatives, Republicans, this is your fault. You could blame the left all you want. This is your fault. Because you wanted to play Christ-like. Cool. Continue.
Transportation, especially in New York.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let me go to Briahna. Briahna, you know, I've seen people coming out saying the most ridiculous things about this case. There is zero evidence that there was any racial motivation whatsoever for Daniel Penny's actions. There's zero evidence of him ever being any kind of white supremacist. And the interview he gave last night, he's a publicity shy guy. He doesn't want to get involved in anything like that. Who's had his life.
You might want to look into his father and his uncle, Piers, but I know you don't do no research, so that's okay.
Life nearly destroyed by what happened, but says he would do it all over again in the same circumstances. We used to salute people like this. We used to literally give them awards for public service. Why is he being vilified?
So I'm not interested in doing identity politics. That's not my game. I wasn't interested in talking about the race in the other vigilante case, and I'm not especially interested in talking about race in this one. I think, as is often the case when race is evoked in the United States of America, the underlying issue is really class, and this very much is a class issue. This is a person, Jordan Neely, who was clearly in the middle of a mental health episode, who was loud, who was threatening, who was making very grievous threats that I think sincerely scared people in the subway. Look, I'm from New York, Piers. I know what it feels like to feel intimidated by someone who is having some kind of mental episode or is just a violent person in a subway car. And I think it's legitimate to feel afraid, to want to move to the other end of the car like so many passengers did, to want to get off at the next stop, to even call the police. I think what's really unconscionable is that New York City has a $6 billion police budget, and there never seems to be an officer who's actually trained to de-escalate these kinds of situations in the car where they need to. They're out standing at the turnstiles trying to spend tens of thousands of dollars of salary to catch subway evaders who've stolen $2 in change by jumping over a turnstile. I think the critical issue here is the question of how Penny intervened. I think the idea of wanting to intervene to de-escalate and prevent harm from coming to your fellow passengers is heroic. But the question is whether or not he used proportional force and whether he should be responsible if the way that he intervened with physical force before, to be clear, Jordan Neely did anything physical that resulted in the death of Jordan Neely should have legal implications, or whether we should incentivize as a public, just like I'm sure you don't want to incentivize vigilante shooters like Luigi, whether we should incentivize as a public Marines who are trained in the art of killing to go around taking matters into their own hands in a way that leads to the death of our fellow citizens.
So just to be clear, before I go to Clay to respond to that, you would have preferred to wait for potentially Jordan Neely to commit an act of violence before Daniel Penny intervened?
I don't think that you yourself use violence against someone first. I think that's a golden rule that we learn in elementary school, that you don't put your hands on other people.
So you would have...
Hey, dumbass, you don't know what the hell he was going to do. That's the underlying issue why a lot of people had a problem with this. Yes, he was ranting. He threw his coat down. He was yelling. He wanted to die and go back to Rikers. Are we really about to start deleting people for exercising First Amendment rights? So what? He said what he said. Did he touch anybody? Did he kick anybody? Did he get in anybody's face? That's the issue, Piers Morgan. He jumped on that man for no reason. And y'all over here calling him a hero. And none of you on this panel would have did what he did. Y'all tough talking. Because I seen hard dudes, who actually can handle themselves. They ain't gonna fuck with Jordan Neely. Because you play the law of averages. You could die right there. And then y'all come out here talking about, oh, he was high on drugs. He was high on K2. Okay, he'd still be high on K2 if nobody would have intervened. He might have left the fucking train when he got to Broadway. People would have saw him. They'd be like, hey, yo, bro, come here. Somebody would have had the cop on the platform. They're like, hey, yo, this is some motherfucker out here flipping out. Here it go. Because I know nobody want to talk about this, right? They have buttons on them trains that you call the engineer or the conductor and say, hey, something happened out in this train car. Yeah, I might want to get the police. Motherfucker stood there and watched him do all that. The red button's right there next to the advertisements. You could have just pushed that. They would have heard everything going on in the car. But y'all over here celebrating murder. Cool. Say less. Y'all celebrating manslaughter. Say less. So when it happens again, I don't want to hear no panels. Because according to y'all, this is right. This is what we're supposed to do as a proper nation. Got it.
We preferred him to wait to see if he attacked a woman or a child or whatever, and then it would be
No,
okay.
not at all. Not at all, Piers. I'm glad you asked for clarification. I think that Daniel Penny could have put his body between Jordan Neely and the other passengers, could have put his hands up, tried to de-escalate, and myriad.
He could have squared up like a Marine. If he was that concerned, like she said, he could have went face to face. That whatever would be will be. He waited till that man passed him. That's coward shit.
In ways that I think we could imagine someone with proper training, like a police officer or a mental health professional, would have done. But I'm asking you, Piers, is it impossible for you to imagine a kind of de-escalation that didn't result in the strangled
Well, I wasn't there, but I mean,
of a
clearly,
mentally ill person?
listen, I'll come to Clay now. I mean, Clay, I wasn't there, you weren't there, none of us were there.
Oh, nah. See, the one good thing Black Spider News did, they did show his family. He come from a long line of cops. And they upstate. Oh, they got the nice photo. Him standing with his father and his uncle and everybody else in uniform, white uniforms. I think it had green in it. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said earlier, you need to look into his father and his uncle and you'll get the story, but that's what they want.
And we do know it was all over in 6 minutes. He did it waiting for the police to arrive. He apparently applied a military technique where he applied pressure, then he took pressure off, then he applied pressure again. And that's a technique they use for restraining people, which is what the military are taught and trained to do. And clearly something went wrong. We don't know if it was affected by the fact that Jordan Neely was high on drugs and whether that affected things. We just don't know, right? What we do know is he died. And that is a tragedy, and I feel absolute empathy for him and for everyone involved in that. And I feel it for Daniel Penny. But I don't see what Daniel Penny did wrong. He was trying to protect people.
Well, neither does the jury.
Right.
Neither does the jury, Piers. And I think that's the big takeaway here. This was a racially diverse jury in New York City that looked at all the evidence surrounding Daniel Penny, and they unanimously said this guy did absolutely nothing wrong from a criminal context. I think it's a signature victory for people who want.
And again, they show how dumb they are. That's not what they said, sir. They're so dumb. No, they couldn't come to a consensus on the manslaughter charge, which everybody in the world knew that he was going to get off once they said they couldn't decide on that. You act like they said he was not guilty. They can't even interpret jury verdicts. They can't even interpret. Never mind.
Want there to be a form of law and order in New York City. I think it's important to recognize that if you couldn't get a conviction, if Alvin Bragg couldn't get a conviction on this case in New York City, it means virtually every jury in the entire nation would have said that there was no crime at all that was committed here by Daniel Penny. I also think it's important. You asked a good question, because there have been and there are people who are saying Daniel Penny is an evil white supremacist who needs to spend the rest of his life in prison. And they're simultaneously having hot flashes over the killer of the United Healthcare CEO.
Exactly.
And how do you analyze that?
That's
to me,
hypocrisy.
it all comes down to intent. Their brains are broken because what we examine in the law is the intent here.
Yeah.
Daniel Penny's intent when he got on the subway that day was not to do anything at all other than take a ride to wherever he was going. And then he felt compelled to act because he saw an issue of violence arise and he felt like he needed to protect the people that were on that subway car.
Police and MTA in New York tell you a few words. If you see something, say something. It does not say if you see something, whoop ass. But all right.
And the flip side, the killer of the United Healthcare CEO traveled there and in cold blood planned, plotted, and executed, as an assassin would, a man he shot with his back against him that never saw the moment that he would be killed. The intent is one, first-degree murder. The intent in the other is try to prevent a potential murder or violent act.
Yep.
They aren't in any way similar. And it really boggles my mind, Piers, that anyone could even try and analogize the two. Because again, the only way you could come up in that scenario with that situation and in any way analogize them is if you are functionally incapable of applying basic logic.
Let me bring Briahna in here. I mean, Briahna, hang on, let Briahna respond.
I just want to give a response just for people watching why there's a series of responses from a lot of individuals, right? Especially when it comes to people of color, not just people of color, some white people, because they understand the history of America, systemic violence against people of color, especially black people by white men, that goes unpunished. I agree with a lot of people that I don't think Daniel Perry, wanted to kill Jordan Neely. Facts matter. Jordan Neely, according to all the eyewitnesses, did not touch a single person. Yes, he was acting erratic. He threw his jacket. He yelled. He screamed. He said, "I don't care if I live or die." One woman in particular said that she feared that he might have made a lunging motion. That's when he took him in a chokehold. I believe that chokehold lasted too long, 6 minutes. He was killed. There was someone in the video who said he can't breathe. He can't breathe. Neely, the street performer whose mother was killed and stuffed in a suitcase, and after that he had a mental breakdown. He was found not with a gun or a knife. You know what I found in his pocket? A muffin. Before any of the details came out, though, the right wing celebrated this man and this murder, right? The right wing also celebrated the guy, Daniel Perry, the other veteran who killed an unarmed white man. The right wing also
you're being a
celebrated.
bit disingenuous, Ajay, and I'll tell you why.
No, wait.
Well, hang on.
But let me tell you this way. Go ahead. Just let me finish.
Okay, you finish, and I'll tell you why you're being disingenuous.
Sure, please. Why am I being okay? So Kyle Rittenhouse, also acquitted, celebrated as a hero. The violent insurrectionists, mostly white, celebrated as heroes.
Yeah.
So you see a double standard here, and a lot of people see, oh, this keeps happening when there's a white man or certain white people who kill black folks. Like example like this. Ahmaud Arbery, a modern-day lynching in Georgia. This man was guilty while running black in his neighborhood. He was just jogging in his neighborhood. 3 white men lynched him.
Yeah, terrible story.
The DA at the time, twice, Pierce, refused to bring up charges. The only reason we know about it is a local attorney released the video.
And then they're now in prison for life. Look, the reality here is.
And look how much noise we had to make to get them to even go to fucking trial. Like, I don't understand how they missed this. Y'all were cool with it until they got charges put on them. Y'all, hold up, family. You didn't even have a video of the deletion until they found the camcorder. You saw George Floyd get deleted on film, and these fuckers sat up there and said, oh, well, he did the right thing. You saw deletion on film on that subway car, and y'all said that the dude was cool. He was still alive when EMS got there. Right, because we've seen people be attacked and not die right there. But oh, he had some drugs in his system. That's what caused it. Hey, dumbasses, what happens when your body doesn't have enough oxygen? Where's Cosmo Fury? What happens when your body doesn't have enough oxygen in it? Or your airways are obstructed? What do you think is going to happen? Cosmo, will you please tell these white supremacists what happens when there's a lack of oxygen in your body? Well, you know, for a whole bunch of people who say they're smart and they know all this stuff, they don't know. Because I didn't realize that you on drugs and somehow, some way, somebody fucks with you and limits how much oxygen you could take in. Nah, that ain't the cause of death. But okay, you're right. It was the drugs.
Is
because
the only
of the video
reason
play,
Daniel
because
Penny
the
got
video
charged
keeps happening
with
again
the
and again.
crime
That's all I'm saying.
was because
so
he
that's
was
why
white.
there's a difference of opinion.
That's the only reason they charged him in New York City. If this had been a black guy doing what Daniel Penny did, there would have been no charges brought.
What? And there it is. I didn't even say it. There it is. If this was a black guy that did what Daniel Penny did, he'd have been charged. Weren't y'all the same ones who keep saying that people were getting charged in New York City for stuff like that and they got no bail and got to go home? You telling me that a black man who was a Marine, killed a crazy white man on the train, you think he going home? Family, this is the disconnect we're talking about. He think he would have went home. Now imagine we home, we doing our content, or we just chilling. We get that alert. Hey, black person, we see the video. Black person is choking out a white man. And two white guys are holding him while he's doing it. You think that black Marine and them two white people finna go home? Daniel Penny walked off that fucking train and was almost out of the station. They think a black Marine would have went home. They would have interviewed him and they would have sent him down to central booking on suspicion of murder. Are you crazy? And remember, folk, they didn't arrest Daniel Penny for a whole week. But he think he would have went home and had food. They be on there screaming how y'all letting this happen? Oh, I don't care if he's a Marine. He should have known better. That would have been the prevailing thought through this whole saga. He's a Marine. He's trained to kill. He should have known better. Ain't no protecting or he's doing the right thing. You should have called the cops. You should have called the trade engineer or the conductor. You should have left. You have crazy people on that train all the time. You should have left them alone. Asshole.
Because
if he had been choking a white guy, there would have been
but
no
also, let me
charges
make this
brought.
point.
This
Let me make this
was
point.
identity
Let
politics.
me make this point to Wajaya, which is, you make out, look, the guy just had a muffin on him, right? I mean, what was the need to do what you did? Well, okay. He had a 42 arrest record from 2013 to 2021. So that's an 8 year.
Did anyone know that at the time? Nobody knew that.
Piers, who cares? This happened in 2023, sir. Who cares? By that logic, he was a clean individual for 2 years. He was a law-abiding citizen for 2 years. Dumbass. Oh my God. They're just gonna keep bringing up the price. So again, and I'm gonna say this, y'all do not want to play this game because now you've just never mind. No, I'm gonna say it. Screw it. You just justified the two would-be assassins on Trump. You just justified it. And they don't even realize they're doing it. The next person that gets enough nuts to try to take a shot at him, they're going to be justified. And it's not because people hate Trump. They're going to say, hey, you let Daniel Penny do what he did because somebody has some charges. This is what we doing. We execute. Oh, so the regular person can execute criminals now. That's what you're saying. Under the guise of being a good Samaritan. They don't even realize what they're doing. But Piers he's saying all this while he's sitting in London. So it makes sense.
Hang on.
No one on the car knew that.
No, I'm just talking about the reality of who Jordan Neely was and what his record was, right?
But you said earlier nobody knew that. You even said nobody knew that he was crazy. So we're assuming that the facts are out. Now we could assume anybody we take out, they got to have a record. Now what happened when they don't have a record? What's going to be your excuse then? You want regular people to execute criminals. I really wish you would just say that. Then we could have an honest conversation. But again, I'm going to lead off with this. You're too pussy to do something. You ain't going to do nothing.
Like there's a subjective reality in the car is what matters.
Hang on, let me
It's
finish.
the cars that
Allow me to finish. You may not want to hear it, but allow me to finish. Right? In 2015, he was arrested for attempting to kidnap a 7-year-old girl after dragging her down a street. In 2021, he punched a 67-year-old woman as she left a subway station in Lower Manhattan. She got a broken nose, a fractured orbital bone, bruising, swelling, and substantial pain to the back of her head in the attack. He pleaded guilty. From January 2020 to August 2021, he was arrested for public lewdness after pulling his pants down, exposing himself to a female stranger, misdemeanor assault for hitting a woman in the face, criminal contempt for violating a restraining order. All 3 cases were then dealt with. This is a guy with a prolonged history of violence, attempted kidnap, appalling stuff, right? He's not just a guy carrying it. He's not some innocent homeless. He's not. Hang on. He's not just some innocent homeless guy clutching a muffin, right? He's a violent guy.
On the day he was choked to death, he did not touch a single person, and he had a
but let's not pretend he was some kind of angel.
But this is, Piers, what I would say.
On the day
what I
he
would
was
say,
choked to
Piers,
death,
is this is a failure of
Don't
New
talk
York
over each
City.
other. Clay?
What I would say about what you just laid out.
Briahna, wait a minute, please. If you talk over each other, we can't hear anyone.
Sorry, I think we're
Listen, please allow me to bring in each guest when I want to, because otherwise the viewers can't hear a word anyone's saying. I hear this all the time from viewers. Like, get in there, Piers, because they all talk over each other. Clay, then I'll come to you, Briahna.
What I think you're laying out is actually a huge part of this story, Piers, which is the reason Daniel Penny felt compelled to act is because New York City has failed to take violent criminals off the streets despite their violent criminality. And that is why so many people, including Briahna herself, said they are nervous when they get on the subway in New York City where crime had skyrocketed. The context in which this occurred, the city of New York, which tried to put Daniel Penny in prison, actually failed not only Daniel Penny, but Jordan Neely. Because if they had adequately punished him for the violent acts that he had engaged in, he wouldn't have been on the subway that day, and there wouldn't have been any need at all for the vigilante act to the extent that it's vigilante in any way, which I don't believe it was, and the jury didn't find it was. This is a symptom of the failure of not only New York City, but many other big left-wing blue city, blue state decisions when it comes to prosecuting violent crimes. They lead to more violent crimes, and we end up in situations like these, which never should have occurred. Jordan Neely shouldn't have been on the street that day. He should have been behind bars for his violent acts.
I agree. Briahna.
Well, let me use the exact same logical formulation that our friend here just made. That Luigi Mangione had to act because our legal system and our political system has failed to address the overwhelming crisis of the U.S. health system. That's exactly how you framed it with respect to the vigilante killing of
that is not the same. That is not the same analogy.
Because the state had not
That's an awful analogy.
Because wait, am I allowed to finish?
You disagree with someone.
Yeah, let Briahna finish her point, then I'll bring you in, Natalie. Natalie, I'll bring you in after Briahna. Let Briahna finish her point.
Yeah, I'm not making the argument, but I am parroting exactly the framing that the gentleman there just used. That because the state didn't intervene in the way that he thinks they should have intervened with Jordan Neely. And I agree, and by the way, I agree that the state failed him, not because they think they need to lock mentally ill people up forever and throw away the key, but because we have another crisis in America that's related to this healthcare crisis. It is a healthcare crisis with respect to not having enough social support for people who are having mental health crisis. Jordan Neely's inability to get the medication that affected his mood, that brought his mood down, is a significant part of the story and comes right back to the healthcare CEO situation. But if you understand, if you believe that it can be a vigilante killing that is justified in your view on the subway, I think you have to look deep within yourself and ask why you're doing so much hand-wringing about the public outcry, the public celebration, Jonathan, again, however you want to describe it, about the CEO killing, when the CEO is responsible.
Because one meant to do it and the other one didn't.
Than Jordan Neely could have ever
Yes,
imagined.
and
Hang on. All right, let me bring it. I want to bring
Jordan
it.
Neely has a history of violence.
course.
This is important, why the analogy falls apart. Jordan Neely has a history of violence that failed in New York, and that's why the action had to occur. The United Healthcare CEO has never...
They did it again. So because he had a violent past, that justified the killing, but y'all got mad at Briahna for saying she feels no empathy that Luigi allegedly did what he did based on the history of United Healthcare and the CEO. It doesn't work like that. My God, how do you live? Oh my God. This is the same New York City that y'all was sitting up there. Your ancestors and your predecessors were sitting up there praising Bernard Goetz for doing what he did. What are you talking about? Nobody bothered Bernard Goetz. That day he shot them 4 black kids. He wasn't bothered. He feared something and he pulled it out. And they let him go with just a fine on a gun charge. That's what Clay wants. I told y'all already. Play that game if you want to. You've just put everybody on alert now. They're going to do something, and then y'all going to get pissed off that you're not going to like the results. It's not going to be vigilantism at that point. It's going to be straight up hands, feet, legs, knees, headbutts, everything up into including firearms because y'all don't want to set a standard. And when other people set the standard, you don't like it. So fine, it's going to end up on you. And I don't want to hear this.
Committed any actual crime at all and was doing nothing at all to engage in any kind of violent act.
Because our legal system decides that the way he kills people is legal.
Okay, well, you've already made that point already. I want to bring in.
That's a problem.
Okay, I want to bring in Natalie, who's been waiting patiently. I mean, it seems to me there's an obvious difference, which is that Daniel Penny didn't mean to do what happened to Jordan Neely, but quite clearly the shooter of Brian Thompson absolutely meant to do it, planned it, carried it out, executed him without him even knowing what was going on. They are completely different stories.
Yeah, I mean, I really think we should take a step back here. And I don't just mean it because the left is essentially defending violent, homeless people who are attacking and harassing Americans, trying to abduct children.
Can we focus on what he did that day and stop talking about his priors? Oh, never mind.
But I mean, the fact that this slippery slope logic chain that you're hearing right now is why you saw 2 assassination attempts against President Donald J. Trump. In other words, if you think or you disagree with someone's politics, you are allowed to use outside the system change to try to effectuate whatever goals you may deem appropriate for this country. And by the way, this goes all the way to the top with Alvin Bragg and all the lawfare cases that you saw against President Trump too, which by the way, you want to talk about a waste of resources, how we need more police officers in the train. Well, maybe they shouldn't have spent tens of millions of dollars prosecuting President Donald J. Trump. And by the way, you want to talk about where New York City has had to spend all of its fund. It's on illegal immigration, right? And that goes back to this oppressor versus oppressed narrative, this idea that this country needs to perpetually defend and bail out criminal, in this case, criminal aliens, but criminals like Jordan Neely, who are harassing everyday working Americans, the same people that you probably think are being screwed over by healthcare CEOs, which I agree in that case. But I don't understand in your worldview how you can both want to support these progressive, soft on crime policies that make the living experience, the lived experience, the working daily commutes of average Americans. They have to face people, crazy homeless people who are trying to kill them because their tax dollars are being used to house illegal immigrants in homes that are nicer than the very homes that they live in. And by the way, might I just add, I am so down to have a conversation about the healthcare system in this country, but I'm old enough to remember that the entirety of the left, the Biden White House, weaponized millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to censor the entire conservative movement, saying that we were absolutely crazy because we dared to question where COVID came from. We dared to question, healthcare and big pharma's profits on vaccines and mask mandates, the whole gamut. So I'm down to have that conversation, but you guys have spent years censoring.
And the whole conservative movement were acting like pussies as soon as they started getting censored. Oh, I get it. I get it now. It was cool when you were dunking on Obama on these quote unquote lefty platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. It was cool then. It was even cool when you were allowed to defend Donald Trump. It was cool then. But now it's not cool because they said, you talking about a disease? Now it's not cool? And instead of y'all saying, you know what? Fuck these platforms. We gonna go where we can have these conversations. You dumbasses were still on those platforms bitching how you're getting censored. They banned me. So let me understand this. So y'all had essentially, because you conservatives really rose up against Obama, you guys had about 12 years. You could have built a platform where you guys could have went and talked and got that information out there. You didn't do that. But now you're bitching that they were controlling the information where you've put no money into it. I've never shopped at Bass Pro Shops, but I ain't gonna sit up there and bitch about the way they do business. I have no skin in that game. But it's okay. Y'all are so worried about what this man did beforehand. You're justifying him being deleted. I just want everybody to understand that man was deleted for his First Amendment and what he previously did that nobody knew about. But okay.
Us trying to open that conversation, and when we try to put in a radical change maker,
you know what?
These people melt down.
You know what? I think it's a perfectly valid point, but we're not going to debate that now. Maybe another time.
Piers, can I ask you one small, very quickly?
Yeah.
I think
There's that. I don't care about January 6th because that's where they're going into next. I don't care. And I know y'all really don't care about Syria. I might just do a separate program on the Syria thing, but there you go, family. This is them. This is them. They love this. They still don't get it. But, you know, it is what it is. They'll learn one day. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Hi.
Hello.
I thought these folks were Christians, allegedly.
There's no such thing as a Christian with conservatives.
they talk about they so righteous, but then you out here praising someone getting deleted.
They can't be right. They're already talking about how Trump is this great thing. It tells you in your book you're not supposed to worship false idols.
Oh yeah, he is a false idol. There ain't no question with that. That's exactly what the book said. I forgot. Wasn't it Revelations or not in Revelations? Wasn't it Revelations?
That's why it's 10 Commandments.
Yeah. They You heard of before I get into it, did you heard about what's going on in New Jersey, right?
With what?
With the drones?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Miss Lisa. She thinks that on Iran is watching Trump. Iran, excuse me.
I mean,
I said it makes sense, but I mean, you never know.
But that would be stupid because then again, you're letting your airspace get compromised. We're doing this again. First it was China, now it's them. Okay.
That's their business, not my butt. Clay Travis he's so boring. Jesus Christ, that's a boring ass white man. I remember when he was on Fox Sports. Every time I turn on it, I was working in the morning. All he was talking about was LeBron. I'm like, bruh, get that man name out your mouth. Pause. That's all he did. It was annoying. I'm like, bro.
But this is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. They took no lessons from the 90s. Yeah, Michael Jordan was the face of the league, but you had other great teams that had crafted storylines. They made hella money.
The Knicks.
That's why the 94 season was a great season, even though people were like, well, Jordan wasn't there, but like you had storylines because now you were forced to think about other teams and you saw the greatness you had. They wanted to focus on LeBron for 20 years. Okay, now you got what you got.
Now that's why the league isn't what it is now.
Right. You want to talk about LeBron and Euro players. Now here you are.
And nobody really, and don't, it's no disrespect to the Euro players. They're not as fascinating as LeBron. They're not box office as LeBron.
Of course not.
They're just
but you
not
have young
like
guns that are in there and they don't want to touch them because they think they're too street. I'm like, okay.
They think Anthony Edwards should be the new face of the NBA.
Well,
Which I agree with.
His team got to get a little better. They too wishy-washy. If you're gonna make somebody the face of the league, you might as well make it SGA, but he foreign, so y'all would have a problem with it.
Yeah, and he's still black too.
It doesn't matter. OKC, they were loving on OKC a decade ago.
Shit.
The young upstarts, but But back to this. Clay Travis told y'all what it was about. You see, if it was a black Marine, he wouldn't have got charges. Yes, he would have.
Yes, he would have.
He would have got first degree that night.
Exactly. They would have arrested him like that, like right then and there. Oh, where you going? Oh no, he wouldn't have been able to leave the train.
He left the train. He wouldn't have been out of the station.
Shoot.
He'd have been handcuffed already. Everybody would be like, yeah, he did it.
And many stories I don't heard from. Many stories I don't heard from people that come from New York who talk about the trains. Like, yeah, they be there dancing and singing and acting crazy. We don't fuck with them. And it's like that's something new.
They're not real New Yorkers.
Exactly. Briahna Joy Gray is the only one that actually knows what she's talking about up there. And I saw another video online. Somebody was like, it was a black man acting crazy there. They're like, I hope he gets choked out. Like, y'all keep messing with some of these damn folks out here. These folks ain't playing with you no more.
But they want that.
The what?
They want that though. Because it's like what I was telling folks. Yeah, all y'all folk talking about what he did was right. What you would have done. I say y'all out there tough talking because somebody did something. Y'all wouldn't have done nothing. Y'all would have sat right there and y'all would have watched him do what he do, and y'all would have sat there and put your head down.
Cause you wouldn't be able to have no gun in New York neither.
No, you can have a gun. You just get 5 years off top.
Shoot. I'd be damned.
Again, they let Bernhard Getz. He walked in there with a 38 and shot 4 people. He left with a gun charge. He didn't even get a gun charge.
Nobody died.
That's all he left with. I'm sorry. That's all he left with. A gun charge. No attempt murder.
I'm glad nobody didn't die. Pass away. That's the only good thing about that situation. But man, I ain't really heard of that. I ain't never heard of that other white lady. I ain't never really cared too much for her.
She won an AM.
She won an AM.
Yeah,
and this Indian dude, who's the Indian guy? I never heard of him either.
He was on Democracy. Yeah, it's like one of them YouTube programs, but he.
I know you're talking about. He's what? Independent, left, right.
No, he kind of center left.
He's center left.
He a liberal. Yeah, he a liberal.
Okay, cause you know how them Indians like to be. I don't know. Let me see. He's
Caldonia, Kaz from Jersey. Now I don't know his background, but he was born in Jersey, so I don't know.
Who's that?
Carl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, he is from New Jersey. Yeah, he's Dominican.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, he's Dominican.
I know black.
I know black Poppy. yeah, Cat's Dominican. I know that. I knew that when I first heard about him. I don't know if his dad's black, but I think his mom is black. His mom passed away though. I don't know if it's either his mom or his dad or both. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, he got Dominican blood in him running through his veins. I ain't gonna try to get your channel demonetized. I really want to smack the hell out of Clay Travis.
Who doesn't?
Demonetized.
Who doesn't?
What's up, Cosmo?
Hey, how you doing, man? How's NC?
It's NC. One day it's like 70 degrees, next day it's like 40 something outside.
Oh man, my mother's in Locust Grove, Georgia, so she tells me the same thing about Georgia. But this whole situation, I can't fathom. You know what? Let me stop lying to myself. KG, thanks for pointing out the fact that Clay just exposed it. And how are you going to say it's not about race, and then you're going to turn around out the other side of your mouth and say, well, if Daniel Penny was black. No.
Because they want to control the racial conversations.
Exactly. You want both, like you always say, both sides of the argument. Both sides. And I'm just looking at the fact now that you hear no one mention Jordan Williams, right?
Because he did what he was supposed to do.
Exactly the point. And they keep dirtying up Neely's history because they just like, look, this guy was guilty of something. His life is worthless. We got to just keep telling him. So we got to find something to diminish it. He have all this psychic history. I mean, all this psychiatric history that he did something to people in the past. I'm like, you're not RoboCop. You can't just scan people and look at them and be like, well, so and so Jordan Neely has a history of violence. No, it ain't like that. You don't know nobody on the train.
This is why I tell them, don't do that, because now you just gave people incentive to go see about Trump.
And it's a double-edged sword.
People away about it. But now y'all gonna tell us that's wrong.
It's a double-edged sword too. Now you have emboldened people to continue to mind our damn business and tell us how we police how we feel and think, and then you also have emboldened a lot of us to be like, be ready for y'all even more. You don't want to be made an example of. We might look at it. We might use Floyd's memory as a beacon, Neely's memory as a beacon, but we don't want to end up being on. Nobody get up out of bed as a black man or woman saying, "Hey, I think this is my day. I want to become a martyr." Nobody wants to do that. But they always want to be the hero. But they cowards.
They're gonna learn. I'm not even mad. I want them to keep talking.
There's something gonna happen next year.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's gonna happen. They can be like, well, what about da 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 da? Okay. All right.
You're only halfway through the month, so you never know. You never know.
Hey. Yeah, you're right. Something can happen later on this year.
You don't keep playing around. What's the expression? Yeah, I'll use the acronym FAFO. Remember the airplane situation? The airport situation? My man had boxing gloves around his neck. And homie still was trying to tell him what they're doing and stuff. He's like, you want to go outside? He's like, let's go outside. He's like, come on, let's go. The wife's like, no. They can't help themselves. They make it about race and then turn around and say, stop making it about race. I'm so sick of that.
Well, look, they need race. They need race. That's the only way people listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
They've been using it for hundreds of years.
I could do a whole program on anime and not bring race into it one time. They start talking about anime, the first thing they're going to bring up is, why they blackwashing anime characters? I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, Lord. Oh, you're speaking of that. Intergalactic. Naughty Dog's new game using the Blasian actress Tati Gabrielle is the lead actress in her likeness. And they're losing their shit because she have a shaved head.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, you fucking kidding me. Fury from The Witcher is finally now she's the new protagonist of The Witcher 4. And now they trying to say she doesn't look feminine enough. I'm like, you PC folks what is wrong with y'all?
They platform.
You can't explain that sometimes. And don't they know that some of these damn folks some of these anime characters are voiced by black people?
Oh no, they got mad. Remember, they got mad at the two right now.
Hold on, what is food? What Amron Foodle don't see it?
This is his new griff.
Oh god, 1,001K likes and I'll host a clan meeting expects and things.
Motherfucker, nobody cares.
When was this today? Damn, he don't got.
Nobody cares.
Yo,
why are you live on YouTube? You can't get the monitor. You know what?
No, stream it to YouTube and then they go cut it. Talk about hate speech.
No, if there was ever somebody of recent time I wanted to catch a fade, I'm sorry.
You know what? No, look, them Jews gonna do it for us. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Jewish problem. I'm not even worried about this cat no more.
Yeah, I mean,
He just talked just for
The
talk now.
Jews are
I
gonna
know.
fade him. Look, the Jews are gonna fade him, and then he gonna complain, and nobody's gonna care.
No, I'm talking about physically.
The Jew, no, you don't know about them Jews in Miami. Them Jews in Miami know how to fight. He gonna fade one of them. One of them gonna fade him, and he ain't gonna like it.
I know
Then
I'm
he
not.
fool. He really gonna go crazy.
I know I'm not a warrior, but I've seen him sparring. I'm like, bro, you ain't got it. You ain't got it. The way you shadow box, the way you dance, you ain't that dude, yo. You a bear. You a bear.
They not
That was
even
funny.
for him on this.
They said you would get hung at the same meaning you a host.
What I'm
That's
saying,
funny.
he's just talking.
Exactly.
You know, I let him have it.
They'll bury him in sand just to be symbolic.
Shout out to the drones. Attacking the drones. New Jersey attacking the drones.
I haven't seen any yet. What is it, Metal Gear? What the hell?
That's good.
Cypher?
Anyway.
What part of New Jersey are you talking about, man?
The what?
I said, what part you said you saw them in?
I think it was like Central.
Oh, shit, I worked there per diem and EMS. Nah, we haven't had any, I haven't seen anything. Ugh.
If somebody tried to shoot it down.
Of course they did.
I don't give a damn.
I don't care. They were like they said they were like they don't know if they want to shoot that because they don't know what's in them.
They might
That's
defer
all.
some sort of biological thing. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't. That's why they don't want someone. They don't want to shoot them down.
Well, ain't my problem.
Ain't not, because I'm going to go to work now and make some money.
All right. I will check you later, dude.
Yeah.
All right, kid. We're gonna land our plane here. Well, our
Mhm.
drones here.
Yeah. All right. Before I go, I know I was gonna give you the Jaleel White video, but as I kept doing it, I didn't want to do it no more. Cause the dude just pissed me off. But I'll just say this. Jaleel White. I'm a big Family Matters family. I watched that religiously. When they went into syndication, that's when the show really started exposing themselves how bad it is. This brother got to realize something. The most viral clip from that show is when Carl went off on them two cops. For as much as the star he was too, you let the main character, the supposed main character, Carl Winslow, you made that. You have no clip that will touch that. None. And the cultural impact that clip has. And that was damn near over 30 years ago when they wrote that. They'll remember. Probably the only thing you have close to that, and you weren't even technically part of it, was Urkelbot. You had relevance because of Myra later on. I ain't gonna hold you, family. His character was hella stale until they brought Myra in. Because there's only so many times a nigga can sit up there and get rejected by the chick he liked. And then you sit up there, you get a little bit of a revitalization with your character being next to Myra. And they still figured it out how to rope Laura into it. You have no storyline that you could keep and say that was yours. They even said your parents left your ass as a high school senior. Your parents left your ass and went to Russia. And you had to move in next door. Which I don't even know in what world that happens, but okay. Miss Niecy, now you know you was wrong for that. That is not her name. Miss Niecy over here, she's showing her age. That's not her name. Her name is Myra Boutros Monkhouse. How dare you? But anyway, sir, the show after syndication got boring. And that's a classic thing with sitcoms. When the kids start getting older, you start checking out. Plus, y'all were going into the mid-90s. You had Steve Harvey show, you had Moesha, you had Wemnium, son of a bitch. What was that other show on UPN? Malcolm and Eddie. You had the Wayans brothers, the Parenthood. You had all these black shows coming up. They were able to push the envelope a little bit more. And y'all fell out of favor. ABC didn't want to renew you last season. Y'all went to CBS. You're right. Most people are not going to remember that show. You're right. When most of the storylines became about you, yeah, it gets boring. I mean, hell, we all watched Sanford and Son. It was only 2 main characters on there, but they each had their own storylines. And it kept the show interesting. When it becomes one-dimensional, nobody wants to watch it. They have to go slip in something else. Okay, Steve built this shit. Okay, Harriet and Laura going at each other. All right, Steve built this shit. All right, Eddie and Carl are yelling at each other. I ain't saying everybody didn't remember it, BB. I'm just saying people are not going to put it up there in the same breath as like Fresh Prince. They're not all going to do that. A lot of people I see say this show was corny. Yes, TGIF was great, but at that point, you had Hanging with Mr. Cooper coming in on TGIF. Motherfuckers started watching that. Yeah, it was cute, corny, but as you start wanting a little bit more, the times were changing. They ain't really want to change with the times. Yeah, they added hip hop elements to it. That's great. But after the point, it was like, okay, you can only do so many things with Steve Urkel. What about the rest of them? Yeah, I did say this to my wife, and she kind of laughed at it, but it's true. It's funny, after that show ended, the most successful people on that show were Thelma Hopkins and Brian McClure. Like, Thelma Hopkins stayed with a role. Shout out to her. She stayed getting roles. And Brian McClure said, okay, I want to go to Younger and Restless. And he been on there damn near a decade. Shout out to that brother. But that was corny, him coming outside talking about, oh, the show ain't finally remembered. I'm like, dude, you have a memorable character, yes, but it is what it is. But before we go, family, we're gonna play this clip, and we're gonna have the rest of your day to enjoy up until another hour. Then you go listen to Brother Torian and his take on what Jaleel said. Was it 20 years? I thought it was like 10, but whatever. Shout out to that brother. So y'all take care, stay safe, and you know what to do with the Agents of Chaos kind of mess up your existence.
Who made a potato salad? This motherfucker. Oh, shit.
Why? Huh? Why, nigga? Huh? You don't walk into a fast food restaurant and ask who's on fries, do you? Huh? You roll up in the Roscoe's and ask who's grilling the motherfucking waffles? Huh? No, you don't. So why does it matter who made the damn potato salad?
It don't really matter.
Exactly my point. Now scoop some up on your punk ass plate and shut the fuck up. Now!
Scoop it, nigga. Scoop, nigga.
Wait around. Yep. Start, yeet, and get out.
Time's up. But did we have a good time here? Hello?
At the end of the day gotta end.
Get your money up, not your funny up. Big fucking move.
That's it.